I'm Daniel, 36, architect, calm by nature, loyal by choice. I believed in steady hands and quiet love, the kind that doesn't need grand gestures to be real. My wife Lily used to believe in that too. Or so I thought. It started on a quiet Sunday morning. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, fingers tightening around a coffee mug like it was holding her together. Then she said it. I think we need some space. At first, I thought she was overwhelmed, maybe stressed from work or from us. But I stayed calm. If she needed time to think, I wouldn't beg her to stay. So she left, just like that. And for a while, I thought I was doing the right thing by giving her room to breathe. But 2 months later, I found out what she'd really been doing with all that space, and who she'd been doing it with. The night she left, she packed light, just 2 suitcases and a leather tote with her laptop and skincare. I offered to help carry them to the car, but she refused. Said her sister was on the way. Lily didn't cry. She didn't hug me. She didn't even pause at the doorway. She just said, I hope this helps us. I really do. Then, she stepped out of the house we'd built together, into the back seat of her sister's car, and disappeared into the night. I stood there for a few minutes, still holding the door open, as if she might change her mind and walk back in. She didn't. And I didn't call. For the first week, I kept things as normal as possible. Woke up at 6, hit the gym, showed up at work. Clients still needed buildings designed, and deadlines didn't care if my wife had just asked for space. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not my coworkers, not my friends, not even my parents. It felt too fragile, like if I spoke it out loud, it would become something I couldn't undo. But at night, when I got home, the silence became louder. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. Her scent still lingered on the throw pillow she insisted we buy for the couch. And the robe she always left hanging on the back of the bathroom door. Still there. I didn't touch any of it. Maybe part of me hoped she'd walk back through the door within a few days, say she'd made a mistake, and everything would go back to normal. Maybe I was in denial, but I gave her what she asked for. Space. Week 2, I started getting questions. My sister texted me out of the blue, "You guys okay? Lily hasn't posted anything in a while." Then came James, my best friend since college. "You disappeared, man." Still alive. I told them both we were taking time. Kept it vague. Said I was giving her space and focusing on work. James, of course, didn't let it go. He came over one night with a 6-pack and that face that says, "I already know something's up, so don't even try to lie to me." "Let me guess," he said as he dropped onto the couch. "She said she needs to find herself." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. James sighed. "Why is it always that line? Like self-discovery only exists outside a marriage." I shrugged. "She said she needed time. So I gave it." He looked at me like I'd just handed my house keys to a stranger. "You're a better man than me." Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just tired of trying to fix things I didn't break. Weeks passed. Lily sent the occasional text. Nothing intimate. Just logistics. "Did you move the car registration? The heating bill? Did we switch providers last month? No, I miss you. No, how are you doing?" Just bullet points and loose ends. And still, I answered politely. I didn't beg. I didn't ask questions. Because the truth was, even though I gave her the space she wanted, I had this quiet, a growing sense that I wasn't the only one sharing it with her. I just didn't have the proof yet. But it was coming. It was around week 4 when the silence began to shift, not from Lily, but from the people around us. The first hint came from Sarah, one of Lily's old coworkers. We weren't especially close, but she followed me on Instagram and occasionally reacted to my architecture posts with a thumbs up or a fire emoji. She DM'd me out of nowhere. "Hey, weird question. Are you and Lily okay? I saw her downtown the other night with someone. It looked kind of not platonic." I stared at the message for a long moment before typing a simple, "We're taking space right now. Thanks for checking in." I didn't ask for details. Didn't want to know. At least, that's what I told myself. But my heart was already pounding. A few days later, I went to grab lunch at a small cafe Lily and I used to frequent. I hadn't been there since she left. I didn't even realize I'd ordered her usual until the barista smiled and said, "You still getting Lily's chai on the side?" I gave a stiff smile. "Not today." She blinked then nodded. "Oh, okay. I just thought I saw her here last week." It looked like a date or something. There it was again. A new version of her life quietly unfolded while mine stood still. Still, I said nothing. That weekend, my mom called. She always knew when something was off, and I guess I hadn't been masking it as well as I thought. "You've been quiet," she said. "How's Lily?" I hesitated. There's something about lying to your mother that instantly makes you feel like a child again. "She moved out," I said finally. A pause. Then, "Daniel, what happened?" "She said she needed space," I replied, keeping my voice even. Another pause, longer this time. "Then Mom did what moms do best." She softened. Sweetheart, if she's not sure about you after 4 years of marriage, she doesn't deserve your certainty. That stayed with me. The next Monday, I came home from work and saw a shopping bag on the porch. My first irrational thought, she's back. But no, it was a bag of sweaters, hers, and a small sticky note on top. Figured you didn't want these here. I didn't open it. I didn't text her. I just picked up the bag, tossed it in the back of the closet, and went about my evening. But inside, I wasn't fine. That week, the dreams started. Not nightmares exactly, just loops. Memories of our wedding day, of Lily curled up on the couch reading beside me, of mornings where she'd steal my hoodie before I left for work. But every time I turned toward her in the dream, she'd be walking away. I started waking up angry, not heartbroken, angry. Angry that she'd asked for space and then used that space like it was a dating app. Angry that people I barely spoke to were now sending me coded questions. Angry that she hadn't even bothered to hide it. One evening, I was sitting in my car outside the grocery store, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, when a story popped up. It wasn't from Lily, it was from her sister. Just a quick boomerang clip. The two of them at some rooftop bar, clinking glasses. But there, to Lily's left, half, cropped out but unmistakably close, was a man's arm resting behind her chair, casual, familiar. I zoomed in. Fuzzy, but the posture said enough. I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. The kind you feel not when someone lies, but when they don't even bother trying to cover it up. She was dating. Already, less than 5 weeks after walking out of our home. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either. I just sat at the kitchen table until 3 a.m., staring at the space where her favorite mug used to be. And for the first time since she left, I wasn't confused anymore. I was furious. Not because she'd left, but because she had the audacity to call it thinking things through. After that rooftop photo, the silence between Lily and me didn't feel like space anymore. It felt like theater, like she'd drawn the curtain, walked offstage, and expected me to sit there waiting for the next act. But I wasn't waiting. I'd spent 5 weeks giving her the benefit of the doubt, 5 weeks telling myself not to assume, 5 weeks pretending space was noble. It wasn't. It was convenience. A few days later, my friend Owen sent me a message. He kept it casual, just a meme, and then, by the way, I saw Lily at the wine bar on 7th last night. Looked cozy with some guy in a blue blazer. Didn't know you two were open like that. We weren't. And Lily knew that. The next morning, I walked into the office and got pulled into back-to-back meetings. But at lunch, I found myself staring out the window, hands clenched. I wasn't upset she was seeing someone. I was upset she hadn't been honest enough to end it before starting something else. There's a difference between needing time and lining up replacements. I kept thinking about the man in the photo. The one at the rooftop bar. The one with the blazer. Same guy. Did it matter? I didn't want her back. Not anymore. But I wanted her to know I knew. That weekend, I sent a single text. You can come get the rest of your stuff whenever. Let me know ahead of time. She replied in under 2 minutes. Sure. Can I come tomorrow around 11? No? Are you? No explanation. Just logistics. Fine. She wanted clean and clinical. She'd get it. Sunday morning, she arrived exactly on time. Pulled up in her sister's car again. I opened the front door but didn't step outside. Just leaned against the frame and waited. She looked different. Not in a glowing, I've found myself kind of way. More like tired. Slightly defensive, like she was bracing for a lecture that might never come. Hey, she said, eyes flicking up briefly. I just nodded. She walked past me and headed straight upstairs to the bedroom closet. I heard drawers opening, zippers, silence. I stayed downstairs. 15 minutes later, she walked back down with a suitcase and a garment bag. Before leaving, she paused by the door. I didn't expect you to be so. Okay. I raised an eyebrow. Why wouldn't I be? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then tried again. I thought maybe we'd talk. About? I don't know. Us. Everything. I tilted my head slightly. You said you needed space, Lily. I respected that. I didn't think space came with rooftop dates and wine bar flings. Her eyes widened. Just a little. I didn't. It wasn't like that. You don't have to lie, I said calmly. Not anymore. She looked down. I just got confused. No, I said, stepping back and opening the door wider. You got selfish. The air between us thickened, full of things she wouldn't say and I didn't need to hear. After a pause, she whispered, Do you hate me? That one caught me off guard. I shook my head. No. I don't hate you, Lily. I just don't believe you anymore. She nodded slowly, then rolled her suitcase out the door. I didn't watch her drive away. I just closed the door behind her. Slowly. Finally. That night, I slept straight through for the first time in weeks. No dreams, no noise, just peace. It was a Wednesday afternoon, gray, forgettable, when I got the text. Hi. I know this is strange, but I think we need to talk. It's about Lily, Mark. At first, I didn't respond. The name didn't ring a bell. But I had a sinking feeling in my gut. So I scrolled back to that rooftop photo in my memory. The half-visible arm, the fitted blazer. I replied after a full hour. Who are you? His answer came fast. I've been seeing Lily. I didn't know the full story until recently. Can we meet? Everything in me wanted to say no. I didn't owe this man my time, and I certainly didn't need closure from him. But something told me that meeting him wasn't about Lily. It was about finishing this, on my terms. I agreed to meet the next evening at a quiet cafe downtown, the same one Lily and I used to go to on Sunday mornings. I arrived 10 minutes early, ordered black coffee, and waited. He showed up right on time. Tall, early 30s, looked like a startup founder. The kind of guy who always had a pitch ready and never forgot to moisturize. He spotted me, gave a sheepish wave, and approached slowly. You must be Daniel. I nodded. Yeah. He sat down. Thanks for coming. I wasn't sure if you'd agree. I'm still not sure why I did. He gave a humorless smile. Fair enough. For a few moments, neither of us spoke. The sounds of clinking cups and quiet conversation filled the space. Then he exhaled hard. Look, I didn't come here to cause trouble. I felt like you deserved the truth. I leaned back. So give it to me. He nodded. I met Lily about 6 weeks ago. She told me she was separated, emotionally done, just handling paperwork. Said you two had been distant for a long time, that you were cold. Controlling even. I blinked, not in surprise, but because hearing her spin it so precisely wasn't even shocking anymore. He looked down. I believed her. We started seeing each other. It got close, fast. But over time, little things didn't line up. What things? I asked. She talked about your house like she still lived there. Mentioned your dog, one I never saw. She said she hated drama, but every time we talked about where we were going, she'd deflect. Then last week, she called me Daniel, by accident. That one made me pause. I didn't confront her immediately. He went on, but I started digging. Found her wedding photos still up on her Facebook. Not hidden, still tagged. He looked up, eyes apologetic. That's when I realized she hadn't just twisted the truth. She'd built an entire alternate reality, one where she got to explore and still come running back if it didn't work out. I let his words sit in the air for a while before speaking. She told me she needed space to think, I said quietly. Said it was about clarity. Growth. That she wasn't sure if our marriage still felt right. I respected that. I gave her room. Mark swallowed. And she filled it with lies. I nodded. Did she ever mention you? I asked. He hesitated. Not by name, just my ex. But once, when we were at that rooftop bar, she got quiet and said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I smirked. She never wanted to choose. She just didn't want to be alone if it didn't work out. Mark leaned forward, his voice lower. I'm not proud of being involved in this. I didn't know I was the backup plan. Or the experiment. But when I realized what was happening, I ended it. I stared at him for a moment. Then I extended my hand. He looked surprised, but shook it off. No hard feelings, I said. You got caught in a web. So did I. She was just better at weaving it than either of us was at seeing it. He nodded slowly. I wanted to tell you because I thought, maybe you still cared. Maybe you needed proof. I shook my head. No, I didn't need proof. I needed clarity. And you gave me that. As we stood to leave, Mark hesitated. She's probably going to reach out again. I think she realizes she's burned through both ends. I smiled. Small, but sincere. If she does, she'll get silence. He nodded, and we parted without another word. That night, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Because there's a difference between heartbreak and relief. Heartbreak is wanting them back. Relief is knowing you dodged a life built on half-truths and ego trips disguised as growth. And, for the first time in 2 months, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. It happened the following Saturday. I'd just come back from the farmer's market. 2 bags of groceries in hand, earbuds in, music playing low. The sun was warm, and for once, the silence of the house felt like a blessing instead of a wound. Then my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize at first. But I didn't have to guess long. Hey, it's me. Can we talk? Please. I stared at it for a moment, then slid the phone into my pocket. I didn't answer. That evening, she tried again. Then again the next morning. By Monday, the messages weren't just polite. They were desperate. I've made mistakes. I thought I needed something different, but I was wrong. I miss what we had. I miss you. By Tuesday, the texts came with voicemails. I didn't listen to most of them. Just the first. Her voice cracked as she said my name. Daniel, I don't know what I was thinking. Can we please just talk? I didn't respond. Not out of spite. Not to punish her. I just didn't feel the need. But by Thursday, she was on my doorstep. She looked smaller. Not physically, but in presence. Hair tied back, no makeup, sweatshirt too big for her frame, Her eyes looked like they hadn't slept in days. "Daniel," she said softly when I opened the door. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't invite her in. I just stood there. She hesitated. Can we talk for a second?" So I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. "Talk," she swallowed. "I messed up. I see that now. I thought I needed space to figure out who I was, but all I did was push away the one person who ever made me feel safe." I said nothing. "I thought I was missing something," she continued. "And I looked for it in all the wrong places, with the wrong people." Still, I didn't speak. "I miss home," she whispered. "You mean my home?" I said quietly. She blinked, then nodded. "Yes, yours. You left, Lily. You didn't just walk out. You made a choice, and you turned that choice into a narrative where I was the one who didn't care." "I know," she whispered. "I told myself stories to make it easier." "And what now?" I asked. "It didn't work out with him, so I'm the safe bet again." Her silence was the answer. "You don't want me back, Lily," I said gently. "You want the version of me that existed before you shattered my trust. And he's not here anymore." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm sorry." "I know," I replied. "But sorry isn't a key. It doesn't unlock the door." She took a step closer. "Can we at least talk more? Not now, but later." "No," I said, my voice firm but calm. "There's no later. Not for us." She looked like she might break. "Don't I at least deserve a second chance?" "You had one," I said. "It was called marriage." Her face crumpled. I didn't reach for her, didn't comfort her, didn't invite her inside. "I'm not angry anymore," I added. "But I'm not opening that door again. Not after everything." For a moment, she just stood there, shoulders shaking, tears sliding silently down her face. Then she turned and walked down the steps, slow, unsteady, and disappeared down the street. I stayed outside for a while, letting the air settle. Then I went back in, closed the door, and locked it. Not because I was afraid she'd return, but because I was finally, truly done leaving space for her in my life. That night, I sat on the couch with a glass of wine and silence that felt earned, not imposed. I didn't mourn her. I didn't replay the conversation. I didn't wonder if I'd been too cold, because walking away doesn't mean you didn't love. It means you finally loved yourself more. The next morning, I woke up to something I hadn't felt in months. Stillness. Not the kind that follows heartbreak. The kind that follows closure. I didn't check my phone. Didn't scroll through old messages. Didn't wonder if Lily had sent anything else. She hadn't. And even if she had, I didn't care anymore. I made coffee, played jazz in the background, opened the windows. The house felt different, lighter, like something had been unhooked from the walls. That afternoon, I started moving furniture. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to reclaim the space. The living room had always been her territory. The soft beige throw pillows, the minimalist rug, the weird circular lamp I never liked, but she insisted was statement lighting. All of it. Boxed. I replaced the pillows, rolled up the rug, gave the lamp away to a neighbor. Then I tackled the kitchen, tossed out the herbal teas she never finished, reorganized the pantry. Finally admitted we never needed a spice rack with 34 jars when we only ever used 5. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't erasing her, was recovering me. That weekend, James came by, walked in, looked around, and let out a whistle. "Place looks free." I laughed. "Yeah, feels that way too." We cracked a couple of beers, sat on the new couch, and for the first time in a long time, talked about things that had nothing to do with Lily. Work, travel, a side project I'd been putting off for years, renovating my late uncle's old cabin upstate. "You're coming back to life," James said as he got up to leave. I nodded. "No, I'm finally living it." That night, I lay in bed and didn't replay any conversations. Didn't wonder what ifs. All the energy I used to spend mourning something broken had shifted. Now, it was fuel for rebuilding, redefining. And for the first time, I realized something. I hadn't just survived her leaving. I'd outgrown the version of myself that needed her to stay. A few weeks later, I booked the trip. A solo getaway, 3 weeks up north, where the air was sharp, the lakes were clear, and the nights were quiet enough to hear yourself think. I took books I'd been meaning to read, a camera I hadn't touched in years, and nothing that reminded me of Lily. There was no big announcement. No. I'm finally free. Post. Just a quiet departure from everything that used to weigh me down. I was halfway through the drive when I got a text from Sarah, the same friend who once DM'd me about Lily at the rooftop bar. "You probably don't care, but Lily just got laid off. Something about missing deadlines. Heard she had to move out of her sister's place too." I stared at the message for a second. Then I locked my phone, set it face down on the seat, and kept driving. I didn't feel vindicated, didn't smile or shake my head. I just kept going.